Hey, Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and welcome to the real reason that there's been no Civilization videos for the past couple of months, because I have played this game basically non-stop since I've gotten access to it. This game has not yet been released, and I have over 150 hours in it, okay? I have spent every possible spare waking moment in my life playing this game. It has consumed me. I keep sitting down to try to record Civ, and you know what I do? I get like half an hour in, and then I alt-tab and I open this game. So I just gotta get it out of my system, okay? This is Age of Wonders 4. There will be a link in the description of the video. It's not sponsored, but it does go to a legitimate reseller who's giving you a very small discount. I think it's on the order of like 5 to 10%. They're called Games Planet. Absolutely 100%. This is my review of Age of Wonders 4. It is the best magical 4X game ever made. It is what a modern Master of Magic game should be. It is what it could be. And it is possibly the greatest 4X game to release in maybe since Civ 6. That's what I'll say. 100%. Clip this, ship it, go, stop watching the video and buy this goddamn game. What is wrong with you? Okay. Today, we're going to be starting a new game. And I did do a YouTube poll recently about what you guys would like to see, and you guys voted to see, I believe it was, a astral-touched land of warping wilds. So we're going to go ahead and custom build a world. Now, I had already kind of tested this out a little bit, and I built the world of the astral warp. Welcome to the world of the astral warp. It is a continents map, so there will be a lot of land masses that are separated by oceans, and each empire will share a land mass with one or two other empires. We will also have astral invaders, which means mana resource nodes and pickups will be defended by ethereal, i.e. weak to lightning damage and immune to most effects, astral sea monsters, which are basically evil creatures that have horrifying effects and eat mana. Very scary. The world will be warping wilds, which means every single turn, the tiles in the game will have a chance to morph into another tile until I integrate them into my city, which means the world is going to be extremely chaotic, extremely random, and who knows what it will hold for us. There will also be crystalline abundance on this world. Now, I could, for example, make some more modifications here, but I decided to go with crystalline abundance because I thought it would make the world more interesting, especially because every mana resource node and pickup will be defended by astral sea monsters. So I wanted to make a warping wild astral sea world, which is what the people voted for. And I thought to make the game just a little bit more interesting, ancient wonders will be common. Ancient wonders are, if you play Civilization 6, they're essentially equivalent to natural wonders. That would be how I would describe them. They're a little bit different because they're a little bit different, but that is the way you should think about them. They're like natural wonders. I think it would be really cool if this game had actual wonders. I hope they do implement buildable wonders. That would be kind of interesting. So we're going to be playing on maximum difficulty with basic standard settings. We're going to play with standard player distance, standard amount of players, on brutal difficulty with a classical turn system. I guess I will change the picture of this world to this picture right here because I think it looks really cool. I will go into advanced settings, and I'm going to go ahead and prevent the AI from using custom rulers because I want you guys to get familiar with the basic leaders in the game. All of the AIs will be on very hard difficulty. I will be playing on brutal difficulty. I will not be giving myself a handicap because I am not mentally prepared to do that yet. We're going to be playing with completely standard settings. All of this stuff is completely standard and basic. The only things that we're really changing is the starting conditions will be hard and the world threat will be high. This is going to make things quite difficult for us, especially because the AI will not be dealing with those problems. Now, let us go on. We have designed the world that we will play on. Let us design the faction that we will play on. We can theoretically play any of these previously made factions, right? I could be the Bloodfang Orcs. I could be the Shadowborn Elves. I could be the Deep Dwellers. I could be the Underground Disciples. I could be any of these factions. And they all have their own abilities. For example, Arctica, she is the Frost Queen. She has the Tome of Cryomancy. Her people are the Gnarled Frostlings. She's human. She's a barbarian. She has the Staff of Spirit, right? Very much so about shadow, chaos, and nature. We're going to be custom building a faction. This is Thrindara Herald, the faction that we will be playing today. She is the leader of the Halfling Builders, the faction that I have designed. Now, this isn't exactly the Halfling Builders that I decided upon. We will be making some modifications here. The first thing that we won't be changing, though, is our race. We will be halflings because I think halflings are kind of cute. Look at them. Look at them. They're so cute. My little halfling. We're going to be taking quick reflexes because we're going to be optimally trying to fight at range. This will allow us to avoid getting hit quite so much. Our people will be a heavily ranged focused faction. We will also be elusive, which will give us extra defense when we get attacked by retaliation attacks, which occur when our units attack other units in melee, and opportunity attacks, which is when we are in an enemy zone of control and we try to move out of it. This will allow us to, with a ranged focus army, win any ranged skirmishes with our more evasion, and get out of melee combat without getting completely obliterated. So, we are going to be playing a Mystic race today because you guys wanted to be the Archmagus of the Astral Sea. We will have a lot of extra mana income. Our units will have the Star Blades Attunement, which will give them extra damage whenever we cast a spell in battle. We will also have Astral Echoes, which are basically a unique pickup that's on the map that we can grab that will give us extra research and will scale certain bonuses when we build certain buildings in our cities. Don't worry about too much about this. The Mystic faction is very much so focused on magic. You can see two of their units, this unit here and this unit here. They both have glowing hands, which means they throw magic around. That is the important piece of information that you need to pick up from them. For example, the Feudal faction, you can see they're much more melee focused. They do have two rangers, but you don't see a magical user. They do have a bannerman, who is their support unit, and you can see they're much more focused on the physical. The high people, look, they have much more magically focused. They have someone with glowing hands, they have someone with a big old staff, and they have people with big pointy spears. The barbarians, on the other hand, these guys are much more focused on blood, death, and destruction, right? They got poison staffs, they got archers, they got skirmishers, they got big axes. The industrious people, these guys are all about crossbows, defense, immobility. The dark people are all about causing suffering, which you can see by the extra pointy bits they have on weapons that probably don't make those weapons that much more effective, but let me tell you, they are pointy. The mystic people, we are magic. Now, I had originally decided to take Adept Settlers, which would allow me to found a lot more cities more effectively, and Wonder Architects, which would allow me to have Ancient Wonders in my cities. I think I'm going to actually change this slightly. I've decided that I will go with Perfectionist Artisans, which is a society trait that you can unlock in the game when you do a certain amount of Pantheon abilities. That's something I'll have to explain later. Now, this will have significant effects on our empire, which you probably don't understand right now, but don't worry about that. Basically, our buildings will be more expensive. Okay. However, they will grant us extra stability. Higher stability makes your cities produce more income and extra gold. It'll also mean that our tier 3 units will start with +1 rank. We will have 2 less city cap. City cap is an important game mechanic because every city cap that you have allows you to recruit a hero and without upkeep. And we'll also start with an extra tier 3 unit, which is going to put a lot of strain on our economy in the early game. Now, the other ability that I'm thinking of taking is actually Adept Settlers, which will allow us to found a second city, which could be a very interesting combination. The reason I'm taking Perfectionist Artisans is because I want to take a Materium Affinity here. Materium Affinity is technically opposed to the Astral Affinity that we start with, which I am totally okay with. I'm also going to be taking Mana Addicts, which will give my entire... Now, I'm torn between Mana Addicts and Adept Settlers. I want the Materium Affinity because Materium Affinity leads to some really interesting bonuses down the line. I would like to take Adept Settlers to be able to settle more cities. I think Perfectionist Artisans plus Adept Settlers could be a really interesting combination. I'm really tempted to take Mana Addicts because I would get the Attunement Mana Addicted, which would give all of my units lifesteal whenever I cast a spell. However, the downside is if I don't cast a spell, my units will take morale damage. I think this combo, Mana Addicts plus Perfectionist Artisans, could give me like such an incredible start to the game. It's a really hard decision. I'm really tempted to go with Adept Settlers because I love the idea of having these like really perfect cities and building a lot of like really high quality cities that are slowly built up. But man, I can't pass up Mana Addicts. It's just so damn good. Now, we will be taking the Tome of Evocation, mainly because it's all focused around lightning damage, and lightning damage is extremely effective against Astral Sea creatures because they are ethereal who take extra lightning damage. This will have a variety of effects on our gameplay, namely giving us extra Astral Affinity, access to the Channeling Tower, which will give us lots of mana income, as well as lightning weapon upgrades for our heroes, which will allow them to do extra lightning damage. We'll also get a bunch of other things that we'll talk about when they actually come up, but just note this will point us in a very astral, lightning damage, and high mana income direction. We are going to be a Wizard King because Wizard Kings, again, give us extra mana income. So my Mystic traits and my Evocation, my Tome, and my Wizard King all are pointing together to give me extra mana, really good casting abilities, and also dependence upon casting, right? My army scales off the number of spells I can cast, and as my leader levels up, I can cast more spells, and I also get access to the Overchannel ability, which allows me to cast 2 spells per turn, once per battle. So there's a lot of potential here for me to scale really well with this Mystic. I'm not going to change anything about my leader. I'm very happy with my faction. The only thing I'm going to change about my leader is that I'm going to be taking the Lightning Orb ability, which will give me a magical basic attack, as well as a mount, and the Magecraft ability, which will give my ranged magic attacks plus 10% accuracy and the ability to ignore status resistance. In terms of my racial, one thing I'm kind of tempted to change is to change my armor color and maybe my faction color to like a nice light blue, and maybe I'll give my army red armor or something. Now the red armor is kind of ugly. Maybe bronze. Yeah, I like the idea of like a bronze armor wearing people with bright red hair, kind of pinkish. Anyway, that is it. That is the faction that we have designed, Thundara Herald of the Halfling Builders. She is my astral lady. Let us go and get started. Yes, I know there was a lot of setup there, but believe me, this is all important because I'm setting up the context of the game and I'm going to be explaining things in excruciating detail so that you can be prepared. Welcome to the game of Age of Wonders 4, the game that will essentially ruin my YouTube channel because I have been extremely addicted to it. We are Thundara Herald of the Halfling Builders. We have quick reflexes, elusive, we are mystic, we have perfection artisans. These are abilities that you can only unlock after you've played the game for a while. And we start with the spell's Fulmination. Fulmination is a damage spell that damages enemies in battle. Enemies in a 1 hex radius, so it hits 7 tiles, will sustain 15 lightning damage, which will be modified by their defenses. So if they have a weakness to lightning damage, for example, they will actually take extra damage, and they have a 60% chance of becoming electrified, which will make them suffer 8 lightning damage each turn. So, quite an effective spell for dealing damage. We also have Cosmic Ablation, which is a mystic spell that does 10 damage of lightning, fire, and frost, which means we have across the board extra damage. All really fantastic stuff. Welcome to our starting city of Starspire, the perfect city of the Halfling Builders. We have a lot of work to do to develop this city, but before we could talk about developing the city, we should talk about our armies and all the things that we're going to be doing in this particular game. This is my scout unit. This is a mystic projection. It is an ethereal unit that has farsight and pass-through, so it can move through obstacles and pass over things quite easily. It is technically floating, not flying, so it moves over any type of terrain apart from mountains at a cost of 5. It can float around and explore quite effectively. I'm going to use my scout to look for these unguarded mana pickups. You can see here, this is a resource pickup. When I pick this up, I will get an injection of mana into my economy. I have 25 mana right now. I walk over it, I pick up 46 mana, and now I have 71 mana. And that is the goal of the scout. There's 2 goals for the scout. It's to find other players, it's to find free cities, and to find unguarded resource pickups in the early game. This is my main army stack. It has my hero, Thundara Herald, who can equip a variety of equipment, as well as gain a variety of abilities as she levels up. There's a whole host of abilities here that we'll talk about when we get to it. The rest of my army stack, you can see here, the number 5 indicates the number of units that are in the army stack. The yellow area indicates the area that we can move to this turn with all of our movement abilities. You can select individual units and move them separately from the army. For example, if I click on the army, they can only move to here, but you can see my leader, because she's mounted, can move 48 tiles. So if I click on her specifically, she should be able to move further. This army stack has up to 6 units in it. Currently it has 5. It has a tier 3 Spellbreaker, which is the tier 3 unit of my faction with the Cosmic Bolts and Star Purge abilities that we'll talk about when we're actually in a battle. We have the tier 2 Soother, which is the support unit for the Mystic faction, which has a basic Cosmic Blast for 15 damage, a variety of colors, and it has the Soothing Breeze heal that will heal temporary hit points. We'll talk about all of these abilities when we actually get into the battle. We also have the Arcane Guard, which is a polearm unit that is quite good at fighting cavalry, thanks to its 40% damage bonus against cavalry and large targets. It also has first strike and charge resistance. And then we have our Arcanist, which is our tier 1 battle mage unit. We don't get any physical range units. Our faction is very magically based. Anyway, the main objective with our hero in the early game would usually be to find a settlement. But because we're starting, normally we would actually only start with a hero, a arcane guard, and the Arcanist. But because we picked Perfectionist Artisans, we started with an extra Spellbreaker, and because we picked Mana Addicted, we started with an extra Soother. This Soother could have been another Arcanist, because it rolls basically a dice and picks which one it will be, but this time we got a Soother, which is quite handy. So our army stack is actually quite a bit more powerful than usual. However, we are in a brutally difficult world that has a lot of powerful enemies in it, so that's something we're going to have to keep in mind. Now, it's probably a good idea for us to have at least 2 units in this army that can hold the front line. So I'm going to recruit myself a second Arcane Guard to hold the front line. They have quite a bit more health than the Arcanists, and because they have first strike, they're quite good at holding the line. And usually 2 melee units is enough for a stack to be able to hold a small choke point. And we have found our first potential target, a pair of Flow Serpents and an Astral Wisp. I'm going to go ahead and step up to these guys. We also found the Astral Anchorage. I'm going to click on my hero to detach her so that she can actually engage in this battle. Before I do that though, I am going to handle my economy. Let's go ahead and set our Arcane Research. one of the really important abilities that we're going to pick up this game is the Lightning Torrent spell. What this will do is it will target enemy armies at a cost of mana. It will do 20 damage to that enemy army before we engage them in combat, and then provide them with a -2 lightning resistance, the debuff, thus making it much easier for us to damage them with our lightning heavy faction. So I'm going to take Lightning Torrent. I would like to unlock the Evoker and Lightning Blades, but Lightning Torrent is an incredibly important ability for us in the early game. It's going to allow us to convert our mana into more effective battle combat at a really efficient rate. Now we also need to handle production in my capital city. One of the things that we're going to struggle with in my capital city is the total amount of production that we make. Building buildings for us is incredibly important because every building that we build gives us +1 city stability as well as +5 gold per turn. So we're going to need to build buildings that give us production. So things like the Evocator's Abode, which provides us +5 production, as well as some draft, which is used to recruit units, and +5 mana, which is used to cast spells, is going to be probably the important building that we build first. Now, we can boost this buildings by building a farm, which will lower its cost, both in gold and production, by 30%, which is something we're going to do. So we'll get started on the Evocator's Abode, and when possible, we will build a farm, ideally on this node right here. This is an iron deposit that is adjacent to our capital, but we'll talk about that next turn when I actually spend some resources to grow that city. Let's go ahead and engage in our first battle. This is a low risk battle. I could auto combat this, and it would be likely that we would win this battle without taking any losses. We could watch this replay, but I think I'm going to go ahead and fight this battle manually so that I can show off how battles work. I'm going to move my spearman up into this choke point so that he's ready to defend, and then I will position all of my units around him in a defensive formation. I will then force end my turn, and my units will all go into defense mode, making them harder to damage. Our enemies will approach, and I'm going to use a very strange tactic here in this particular battle. I'm going to use the Cosmic Ablation spell. This will allow me to massively damage these Astral Sea Serpents, almost killing them in a single hit, giving all of my units Lifesteal and Starblades. The Lifesteal and Starblades abilities are coming from the Attunement Mana Addicted, which is giving us Lifesteal when we cast spells, and the Starblades is coming from our faction ability, which is giving us +1 damage. This guy in particular, he rolled +1 frost damage. Every unit should roll a different type of damage. I'm going to go ahead and use the Overchannel ability on my hero, which you can see, because it has 0 filled in pips, it actually won't end their turn or even use any of their action points. Every single unit in the game has 3 action points at the start of a battle. Moving any tiles at all will use an action point, and depending on the type of movement that the unit has, the further you move will use more action points. This hero has fast movement owing to the fact that it's mounted. This unit is mounted on an animal, which gives the fast movement type. This allows me to move up to 3 tiles per action point without using an action point. So I can move up to 3 tiles without using up an action. People on foot who don't have slow movement can move 2 tiles without using 2 actions. So you can see here, if I take this guy and I step 2 tiles, he still has 2 actions, but if I step another tile, he now only has 1 action. My hero is going to use the Overchannel ability because it'll allow me to cast a second Cosmic Ablation to hit this second unit. This will activate all of the Starblades again, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, the important thing about these Flow Serpents that I want to talk about is that they have the Astral Refuge ability. Whenever they get hit, they become refuge. They become invulnerable to damage, but they're also stunned, so they can't do anything. I'm going to use this to my advantage to position my spearmen right in their face. So if they try to act, i.e. attack my spearman or get out of his zone of control, they will take massive damage because my spearman will be projecting his zone of control in their face. I'm going to tell my spearman to go into defense mode, which will give him plus 2 armor, defense, and +2 resistance. Every point of armor and resistance that you have increases your effective health by about 10%. If you have 0 armor and you go to 1 armor, you will have 10% damage reduction. If you go from 1 armor to 2 armor, you'll have 19% damage reduction. If you go from 2 armor to 3, you'll have 27% damage reduction. Basically, every point in armor you get on a unit will increase the resistance to either physical or magical damage by 10%. You can see here, this guy has a 34% reduction in magical damage and a 27% reduction in physical damage. Mystic factions are weak to physical damage, but strong against magical damage. We resist that damage quite readily. I'm going to move my support unit forward all the way. The cool thing about support units is they're actually quite mobile range units because their main attack always only takes 1 action. So I can kind of move him forward and blast this wisp. Like so. I'm going to move my Arcanist forward 2 tiles and then blast this wisp as well. 1, and it's only a 30% chance to hit, which is quite low. With my Spellbreaker, I'm going to do a Star Purge, which is an AoE damage ability that forces enemies to lose all of their positive effects, which will do massive damage to both of these wisps. thus damaging them. Wisps are actually really good units because they have the astral membrane ability, which gives melee attackers a 30% chance of becoming stunned, so they're quite good at dealing with melee attackers, even though they're ranged units. Quite a fun and interesting unit. I'm going to move my hero to here and take out one of these astral wisps so that they are dealt with. And now we only have 3 units left to deal with. Now, these guys could do some teleporting stuff and really cause us some problems, but the first strike reactivation of our spearman has managed to already kill one, and then he's going to use a teleport bomb to get behind my arcanist, but it doesn't matter because my hero can just turn around and completely obliterate him. Bada bing, bada boom. My spearman is going to run forward and get into melee with this battle mage. When you engage a ranged unit in melee, unless they have the melee mage ability, they will not be able to use their spells because they are in an enemy zone of control. This cosmic boat ability, which is a ranged attack, cannot be used when it's within an enemy zone of control. These sorts of things are going to be very important in the long term when we're kind of fighting. Let's go ahead and get up in this guy's face and try to finish him off. Okay, I need just a little bit more damage, so I'll get up nice and close to him and give him one more blast. Okay, we missed. Let's get to here. We've got a 50-50 shot at killing him. Perfect. We actually crit him. That was lovely. So we actually cleaned that battle, taking almost no damage. So that is the battle system explained. I will be fighting most of the battles here because I'm trying to minimize the amount of damage that I take. The reason why that's important is because momentum in this game, like most games, is actually super important. Now, we just found a free city. This is the Apprehensive Astral Anchorage. This is actually a free city of my people. Usually in the game, there will be a free city that is associated with your faction that spawns very close to you. It's supposed to be a very early place for you to expand. We start with 1 Whispering Stone, which we can give to this free city to actually increase their relationship with us. You can see here, in 6 turns, we will reach a Pact of Cooperation, which will allow us to trade with this faction. Then once we reach the Pact of Cooperation, we can get to the Pact of Loyalty, which will allow them to share their vision. We can build on their claimed provinces. They will help us in the Rally of Lieges, which is a mechanic we'll talk about later. They will also reinforce us in combat against marauders and rulers that the free city is at war with. Eventually, we can get to the Pact of Vassalage, which will actually integrate this into our empire, albeit in a slightly indirect way. And we'll get access to all of their resources. This is something we could talk about forever. We can also boost our allegiance by spending Imperium. Imperium's an incredibly important currency that you will never have enough of. So boosting allegiance should only be done in cases where another player is potentially going to steal the vassalage of a free city from you. Because if another player steals the vassalage of a free city from you, you can no longer vassalize them yourself. So something to be worried about. Now, my hero has finished her turn, and we will go ahead and return to this army. Important thing to note, my army is hurt. It has taken hit point damage. Now, it will recover 5 health regeneration in the wild. That's it. So that's per turn. So if my army gets really, really damaged, I'll have to return to my territory where you heal 5 times faster. You recover 25 hit points per turn. However, we're playing on brutal difficulty, so I need to keep my army active. I need to keep them moving. I need to keep them doing stuff. If I don't, I'll be in trouble because the game will become very difficult for me. Let's go ahead and end our first turn. It took me 30 minutes to get through the first turn. However, I feel like I've covered a lot of really interesting game mechanics, a lot of really interesting concepts, and I feel like we're in a good place to continue playing. I do not see very good locations down here to the south for me to continue to look for and fight. So I'm going to take my army stack. I'm going to take my hero, detach her, and gently scout. Now I see the red borders of a potential barbarian encampment. So I'm going to very gently scout in here. We have in fact found an NPC army of the Marauder Guard. They are guarding a gold vein, which means if we defeat them, we will actually get gold. So I'm going to go ahead and move my army to reinforce. If I hadn't found something for me to fight this turn, I would have headed north where I see that there's potential mana nodes and also mana pickups up here to the north. You can also do fog scouting. For example, with your scouts here, I can see there is a watchtower here, which means I would like to move a scout over here because it'll reveal a large chunk of the map. I can see there's some sort of quarry here. You could do a lot of fog scouting for things like watchtowers and like if I zoom out, you can see I'm in the bottom right of the map. Now, beyond a certain point, you can't really see much, but I know for a fact, like there's a watchtower here and I can kind of scout. Oh, that looks like a resource. You know, you can kind of do some fog scouting. Like I predict that there will be another player somewhere here maybe. So you can do a little bit of fog scouting. It's not the most useful thing. It is something you can do though. This is a infestation spawner. This is actually more like a barb camp. The way I would describe these are like resource guardians. These are like barbarian encampments. They will act in their own manner. You can see here, this small monster den is in a deep sleep. After 9 or more turns, it will activate, produce a unit, potentially patrol its land, potentially expand, potentially look to fight me. We have found a quarry of potentially another free city. If we defeat this, we will actually get a really nice reward. Potentially hero items, potentially units, potentially a whole bunch of stuff. We want to keep our units outside of this red influence because it will prevent any of the monster armies from coming to attack us. These barbarian encampments will expand and they will send raiding units to go blow up your cities. So you're going to need to be able to be ready to defend yourself. We've actually found quite a few small monster dens in the nearby area, which is great. These bronze monster infestations are fantastic early game things to fight. I'm going to come over to my city here. Oh, I need to do that next turn. Never mind, I'll have to wait a turn. Anyway, let's engage in our second battle. I would say as long as none of my units are below maybe 80% health upon an auto-resolve, I will accept the outcome. My spearman took a little bit too much damage here. So, actually, my spearman is kind of my expendable unit. Let me go ahead and watch the replay and see if there was any inefficiency in the battle that I could have fixed and gotten a better outcome with. Okay, that was a bit inefficient. That was a bit inefficient. Otherwise, that was fine. Okay, yeah, that was great. The Cosmic Ablation. That was pointless damage you didn't need to take. Yeah, you didn't have to take that damage. Okay, yeah, I definitely feel like I could fight this battle and take quite a bit less damage, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Fundamentally, I'm going to fight the battle roughly the same way that they did. Position all my units in a forward position, hopefully trying to bait them into attacking me. Nope, they move up to a relatively safe position. I use the AoE damage of my Spellbreaker to obliterate them. Kaboom. I'm then going to use my Cosmic Ablation ability to massively damage the doggos. I will then overchannel with my leader to allow me to cast another spell, thus allowing me to obliterate the other doggos, which is fantastic. I'll then use my hero's magical attacks. Let me see. I'm going to bring my spearman forward, and the objective here is to face the horse in defense mode, and then my goal is to kill the doggos. Now, this doggo won't do much damage here. It'll actually get killed if it attacks my spearman because my spearman has first strike. So I'm going to move my hero forward one tile. I'll move this battle mage one tile this way. This way we can maximize the amount of damage we get on these horses. We probably won't kill one of the horses, but we don't need to. Even if they attack my spearman, they shouldn't do too much damage. So we've managed to beat this battle without taking too much extra damage. There we go. I think my spearman is a lot healthier than he would have been. I'm going to go ahead and cast a Star Blades. Blast this kid, and then blast here. Unfortunately, most healing spells don't actually permanently heal your units. That was actually a change the developer made. When you heal a unit in battle, they gain temporary hit points, which only last for the battle. After you leave the battle, you don't get them anymore. So I think this is a slightly better outcome, and I'm quite happy with it, because also my hero leveled up, which allows me to start talking about hero progression. There are two ways your hero... Well, there are three main ways... No, there are a few ways your hero can progress. One of the ways is through leveling up. This is going to be one of the most significant ways that your hero levels up, especially because we get casting points from our hero leveling up. When you level up, you can pick from a variety of hero skills. There is the warfare hero skills, which generally have to do with doing physical damage, taking physical damage, or just controlling the battle. For example, killing momentum gives you an extra action point when you kill another unit. Battle magic has to do with casting spells and magical attack abilities. For example, channel power uses up your turn, but gives you an 80% damage bonus on the next turn, which allows you to time when you're going to do a big explosive move. Another ability is Weaver here, which allows you to refresh all of your ability cooldowns and once per combat abilities. Really good with overchannel, and also potentially really good when we unlock our signature skills, which is the second way you benefit from leveling up. Think of these like ultimate abilities from something like Dota 2 or League of Legends. They typically have a battlefield changing ability that is very significant. You also have support skills. These are things like a heal that gives your units temporary hit points, and regeneration that also restores temporary hit points every turn. You also have things like defensive training, which increases the defenses of your entire army stack. Now, remember this applies to your entire army stack, so it's basically a 10% health boost for your entire army. That might not sound like much, but if you combine it with, for example, endurance training, which also gives 15 hit points, it's a very effective way to make your army very survivable. And if you can keep your units alive, they're much more combat efficient, they're much more economically efficient, and so on and so forth. I'm a big fan of support abilities. However, I recognize the power of my hero as a magical caster, so I'm going to go ahead and focus on battle magic. The first thing I'm going to take is the Attunement Starblades, which will give me +1 damage every time I cast a spell, up to +3 damage in battle. The second way that a hero can progress is through their equipment. We haven't picked up any equipment, but basically, when we do, I'll talk about that. The third way that your hero can advance is through advancing your racial transformation. We'll talk about that when we actually get to it. Yes, you can transform your race with magic. Can you see why? I hope you guys are starting to see why I've been completely addicted to this game and you've been getting absolutely no Civilization 6 videos from me for the last month. Now, we have encountered a great bird nest, which is a silver infestation spawner, which is quite a bit scarier than a bronze one. So I think we will not be trying to clear this. We will, however, because as you can see, it has a phoenix, it has a storm spirit, it has carry birds. We could actually maybe clear this if we had a second spearman. Let me have a little think about this. We've got wind ragers. The whirlwind is scary. That's a tier 4 mythic shock unit with a 2 hex AoE fire damage that inflicts burning. Yeah, we can't take this on yet, probably until we have a second tier 3 unit and maybe replace these arcane guards with a pair of spell shields. So yeah, we would need another Spellbreaker and then 2 spell shields to really take on this stack and maybe a couple of levels on Thurinda. So we're going to be avoiding this Great Bird Nest and instead we're going to be taking on this NPC army that's guarding this mana node, and since we're clearing a mana node, we will get mana from it. This is a lot more damage than I would like to take, so I'm going to go ahead and fight this battle manually. We will be doing this a lot in the early game until we have massive stacks of units. To where we can take losses. Right now, I can't really afford losses. This is an Astral Siphoner. This is the evolved form of the Astral Wisp. Astral Wisps, quite powerful, causing bolts. They're ranged. They have Astral Membrane. Melee attackers have a chance of becoming stunned. Very, very powerful basic unit that would actually fit quite well with our army if we could get a way to recruit them. The Astral Siphoner, the Astral Wisp actually evolves into the Astral Siphoner when they get to the champion level. Your units can level up and they gain abilities as they level up. This is a part of Age of Wonders 4 that I wish was slightly more fleshed out. I always feel like I would almost love an entire expansion based around like unit advancement, honestly. Like really just flesh this system out into something really cool. It always feels it feels a little bit tacked on compared to how impactful it was in games like Master Magic. I just wish they would I would love this whole, like, people always talk about, oh, I want an espionage system. I want like a unit advancement and level up system, you know? I want to I just love the idea of customizing my units on a granular level. I love doing it for heroes and I want to be able to do it for my things. It's why I loved Age of Wonders Planetfall, where you could mix and match abilities, all that stuff. I just wish this experience system had a bit more. Anyway, they evolve into an Astral Siphoner. The Astral Siphoner is quite a powerful unit. It has a lot of health, it has a lot of defenses, right? But it is weak to magic damage. So even though it has relatively high resistances, right, to most magic, it'll take only half damage from most of these magic abilities, 60% reduction from spirit. It only has a 30% reduction to shock damage, which is the main damage that we do. Now, it has a single melee strike that will remove unit enchantments. It also has Cosmic Spark, which will do random damage. So it does 17 base damage and an extra 13 damage. So this is a 30 damage attack. Very, very powerful. It has Astral Pull, which allows it to move enemy units around. It has Astral Membrane, which gives it a chance to stun people who attack it in melee. It has Astral Torrent, so when it dies, it will heal units near it. So we need to focus this guy down before we try to kill these wisps, which will mean these wisps will be free for a turn or two to actually get some shots off, which is probably why the auto-resolve took quite a bit of damage. Now, we want to get up into a position where I don't want to use the word bait, but kind of. We want to kind of bait our enemies into getting real close. What we want is for them to come up to just outside of our range so that we can step forward and do what we need. I'm going to go ahead and do the Star Purge ability here. It's probably not super worth it. We could either do 21 damage to this guy, or we could do a big AoE. The problem is after we kill the Astral Siphoner, he will just heal these wisps back up. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast a Cosmic Ablation on this Astral Siphoner, which will actually significantly increase the amount of damage this guy will do. And then I will do a Overchannel on my main hero. And then I'll do another Cosmic Ablation, boom, to bring his health down, giving us Star Blades. And now we should do quite a bit more damage. 21 damage right there in his face. 1, 2, 3, likely we graze, it's okay. So something significant just happened there. You can see this Astral Siphoner actually has 2 units inside of its model. Now normally this unit does 17 damage on a melee attack. However, now it's only doing 9. That's because we have killed, by taking it down to half health, we have killed one of the models in the unit, which lowers its damage proportionally. That's right, as your units take damage, they do less damage. There are 6 halflings here. If this unit gets down to half health, it will do roughly half damage. It's not exactly like that. That's just like a rough estimate, but it's around about there. I'm going to move my spearman up, and I'm going to put him into defense mode because I don't want him to get stunned by attacking him. And by being in defense mode, when this guy counterattacks, he'll do a lot less damage. I'm going to move my soother straight up right behind this guy to provide him with defense in terms of like preventing him being flanked. We're also going to magically blast this guy. Remember, we want to bring him down. He is, this Astral Siphoner is the main threat this battle. Units can shoot over the heads of your units, but if I hold down control here, you can see their attack is being obscured, so they only have a 50% chance to hit. We can modify that later on when we get some upgrades to our faction. So we'll probably miss some of these attacks, right? That was a graze. A graze is where you only do half damage. Let's move our hero forward as well, and we'll get 16 damage on this bad boy. And you can see the battle has started off really well. We've almost killed this Astral Siphoner. He'll only get a little bit of damage in. I'm a little bit scared about the damage these Astral Wisps will get, but I think even if the damage is concentrated on my spearman, that's something I can live with. Okay, let's cosmically ablate this guy to get rid of him. We'll step my spearman forward to attack blast. Now he did get stunned, which is unfortunate. I'm going to use the soothing breath on him to prevent him from taking any more damage. I'll move my hero to here, and I will magic bolt this guy. One thing to note about my spearmen is they actually inflict sundered resistance with their attacks, which lowers enemies' resistance to magic damage. So these spearmen are actually a really good combo with magic damage units, which I have in abundance in my army. All right, let's try and cut down the number of wisps in these enemy units. You can see here there are dead wisps on the ground, which is lowering their attack power. Normally they do 3 damage per attack, and they're down to a much more manageable 2. I was expecting a couple of misses, that's okay. But this should prevent any more damage on the spearman because now they're only damaging his temporary health. And I don't mind the spearman being damaged because ultimately he is a support unit for the rest of my army. I'm going to cosmically ablate this guy. I'm very happy to spend mana with this faction. Super, super happy to spend mana with this army. In fact, my army is designed around casting spells and spending mana. So my spearman's in worse shape, but he's not an important part of the army. I can just have him sit back for a battle or two, or I can just use the soother to refill his health pool. Now, we picked up 72 mana and the frost shield, so I could switch my hero to being a melee. I won't do that yet. The frost shield is quite good because it means melee attackers take 4 frost damage. It's quite an interesting choice. I can get other heroes later on. One thing that I could get that would give my army a little bit more staying power is if I take the restore ability, it would allow me to make more use of my spearman. And so I'm going to take the restore ability because it'll allow me to keep up my early game tempo, and I have really good tempo right now. So I want to get over here to start fighting these monster dens because they typically have a lot of really good rewards. I did find another free city. This is Obscurum with the Feline Ancients. They are Demonkin, Scions of Flame, and Vessels of Chaos. So these would be a good idea to bring into my faction. They are actually, believe it or not, Devotees of Good. So they're Devotees of Good even though they're chaotic. How is their opinion with me? So their opinion with me is based on our shared affinities. We share an astral affinity, so we're quite positive. We are also at least neutral alignment, so they quite like us a little bit, meaning we would get +1 allegiance per turn. Whereas you could play that with astral anchorage, our relations are quite poor. I wonder why our relations are quite poor, even though they're my faction. Weird. So I'm just going to skirt the edge of this faction. Oh, we have found Asgera Spinesplitter. She is a chaotically aligned Bloodfang Orc, so she's a barbarian ruthless raider, she's a fabled hunter, she's strong and ferocious, she's a militant warlord. She likes empires that are at war, she likes empires that start wars, they don't like empires that are weaker than them, and they don't like empires with good relations with free cities. She feels threatened. Her opinion of me is extremely low. I could send her a welcome gift, but I would rather not, because she already hates me, so I'm not going to bother. We have now a new Empire development ability available. This is your meta progression that uses the Imperium currency. Before I engage with this system, I'm going to go back to my city of Starspire, and rather than let the city grow in 2 turns, I'm going to spend Imperium to grow the city right now. I will attract a population, and then I will plant on this tile with the iron deposit. No, I really need to build a farm, don't I? Let me have a look. Where can I build a farm? If I build a farm here, yeah, okay. I'm going to build a farm here on this tile because there is a pasture on this. This will give me 15 food per turn, which will allow the city to grow much faster. Okay, that's perfect. So rather than growing in 4 turns, the city should grow in 3 now. And then I'm going to attract another population. And how do I explain this accurately? Okay, so by building the farm, I boosted the production of the Evocator's Abode. So I built 1 farm, and now instead of taking 12 turns, it's going to take 6. Now, granted, I already invested like 2 turns into it. Now, in order to make this go even faster, I'm going to spend Imperium to increase the population of the city again, and then I'm going to build a quarry, which will give me, how do I show this? This will give me +5 production, but there's an iron deposit here giving an extra 10. So that will bring my production from 23 up to like 40-ish. Thus allowing me to build the Evocator's Abode in 3 turns, which will get me another 5 production and some draft. And then we can start to look to continue to develop the city. Remember, every time I build a building, I also get 5 gold income. So we're pushing to build a really tall city. We only have 1 city cap because we are a race that focuses on building a single city. We can eventually unlock more, but right now we should be really focused on that 1 city. We have met Noctis, who is a part of the erudite orcs. They are a mystic race of tough underground people. They're wondrous architects, they're ancient wise ones. I haven't found he's a harmonious sage. He likes alliances. He likes empires to get rid of their grievances. He doesn't like people that kill other people. He doesn't like people that execute prisoners. He likes favorable treaties. He likes justified wars. He likes exploration. He likes expansion. He is a little bit wary. I think I'm going to go ahead and send him a welcome gift because I think I might be able to overcome our differences. We have similar affinities. He does have a little bit of an inherent dislike that will increase over time, but I did give him positive first contact, which should helpfully overcome that. This guy could probably be a good ally to me eventually. I could make a declaration of friendship. However, I would want to know a little bit more about him. And it would cost me 10 gold per turn. And it's very early into the game to spend that kind of money when I haven't even really taken care of a lot of other stuff yet. Okay, I want to get over to this monster den ASAP. So I'm going to go ahead and move to here. And very soon we'll be able to attack it. Let's check out the underground. I'll pop down here just for a peek. So we have found Waypoint, which I don't think is his capital city. But we did find a city down here in the Dark Deeps. There are, in fact, 2 maps. The Underdark, the Underground, and the Above World. So, that's going to make things a little bit complicated for us, and we're going to have to manage that. I'm going to be focusing on the above ground for now, but just do keep in mind that that is something we'll have to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and move our spearman that we just created to join our stack. He's not quite in range yet. We're going to move here to capture this small monster den, and I'm immediately going to go ahead and recruit myself another mystic projection so that I can continue to scout. I'm going to go over here my army stack. Oh, Empire Development Skill. I will take the Casting Reserves bonus. Yeah, this will give me 20 combat casting points and world map casting points. I haven't really talked about casting points yet. We will when it comes up. Let's go ahead and begin this battle. I think I should be able to auto-resolve this without a loss. Yeah, this is very, very easy. I'm pretty sure what happens is that on the first turn of the battle, my units heal up the spearman, giving him lots of bonus health. And then that bonus health is what these guys chew through. And then we use a combination of magic and range to just scythe down these guys. Yeah, looks like that's what's happening. They heal him up, so he has a bunch of temporary health. That's why he basically held the front line for me. That's exactly the plan that I was going for. We double cosmically ablate. Yeah, this is basically how I would fight this battle. It is worth it to check out. And sometimes I watch the AI battles just to make sure they're not messing up. Like this support unit could have been used slightly more efficiently, in my opinion. Yeah, look, he's just tanking. It's going really well. He barely lost any health. Oh, look at that. That was an amazing flank. The only thing I would have maybe done here is given my units lifesteal. Ooh, yeah. See, that was like a little bit more damage than they should take. This is basically, in the interest of saving time, that's totally fine. Now, we get 189 food and the Mirror Shield, which reflects 20% of all damage sustained from attacks back onto attackers. So we can actually build a pretty strong melee hero right now with these shields that we've picked up. I could additionally attack this NPC army of Marauder Guards. This is a little bit scarier. I think I would like to have my second spearman. And it's time to introduce the concept of reinforcement range. So if I click on an enemy army, and then I click down here, and I click this button, you can see this red zone is the reinforcement range. Allied or enemy armies can participate in the battle inside this dotted red line. So if I can get the spearman to here to this tile, that will be inside that dotted red line, so he will be able to reinforce in the next turn. A very important concept to make use of when your hero has more movement than the rest of your units. And I would like to have this spearman in the next battle. So we're going to wait. I'll move her here so she's in position. And the important thing is, like, I have these two stacks separated, but they're within reinforcement range of each other, so they will still participate in the same battle. It's an important gameplay mechanic. Now, let's go ahead and bring our scout back from the underground, and I would like to know more about this continent that I'm on. So following the roads is usually a good move, because it typically leads to other empires, as well as things like these natural ancient wonders that are hanging around. Starspire can annex another province, owing to the food that we picked up. We have one farm, and we have one quarry. I would really like to build a stone conjurer, which means I would like to build another farm. So I think I'm going to come down here and drop a farm on this sand forest. A very strange thing to say, but it is what I'm doing. I would say, in a perfect world, you want all of your cities to have at least 3 farms, 3 quarries, and 3 lumber mills, because that will boost every single building in your city. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the stone conjurer now. The biggest bottleneck for my empire will be the production. And so if I can get my production up, that will really help me to develop. And that's why I'm taking the farms to boost the production buildings, the stone conjurers. Okay, let's move my spearmen onto this stack. Then we will attack this army. Remember, most of our goals in the early game are trying to level up and do stuff like that. This guy took a little bit more damage than I would like, so I'm going to go ahead and retry this battle. One of my main objectives is to make sure my armies come out of these battles really healthy, because that allows me to fight the next battle more effectively. So I tend to find a good first move is to move your furthest away melee unit up to 1 tile less than their maximum movement range. That tends to be a pretty safe opening move. Let's go ahead and use the restore to restore the health on this guy. I'll move my soother forward. I'll move my battle mages up. And then I will soothe him as well to refill his health pool. Now this is all temporary health, but that's okay because temporary health, if lost, is not a big deal. Now let's go ahead and wake this guy up. This is a really good triple hit, I feel. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that. I could theoretically get a better hit if I was in slightly better position, but I'm going to take this because it'll put both of these guys into the astral refuge. I'm going to put both my spearmen facing these guys so they won't be able to escape. So they should, if they try to do anything next turn, they'll take the counterattack. I'm going to cosmically ablate these wisps. Then I will overchannel with my hero. And I'm going to use a fulmination to AoE damage these wisps and theoretically electrify them, thus also getting me more stacks of Starblades. I'll move my Soother up, and rather than attack with my Soother, I'm going to use their defense mode. This will give me +3 resistance to all adjacent friendly units, which will give them a 30% reduction in magical damage incoming, which is what these guys do. So it should give them a pretty good resistance to these Wisps' attacks. I'll move my hero forward 2 tiles and then blast this kid. 1, 2. And then I'll move my Arcanist forward. Do I want to move? Yeah, I think I'm pretty safe to move forward like this. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Might take a little bit of damage on that Arcanist, which is fine. Perfect. All right, let's use the... Now, notice how these guys didn't actually act, because no matter what they did, they would die. So I can use that to my advantage. And I kind of want to fulminate, but I also don't, because I want these guys to actually get the lifesteal from killing these. So instead, what I'm going to do is cosmically ablate you. That'll get me lifesteal activated, because remember, my people are mana addicts, so they like it when I use magic. And we should have a really good time killing off these wisps. That's you dead. Perfect. Nice critical hits. Just about didn't kill this wisp. But I think this is a much better outcome than the one we would have gotten. And he retreated and then got killed by the electrification. Perfect. Quite a bit less damage, it feels like, on my army stack. And we pick up a whole bunch of mana. 43 mana, but more importantly, my hero leveled up once again. I'm going to take the Distant Evocation ability. This will allow my hero to attack further with magical attacks. Their main attack is a magical attack. You can see here, magic base with a range of 4. This will make it up to a range 5 attack. You can see here, now it's a range 5 attack. That will be useful. I can't quite make it to this mana node this turn, so I'll just position my hero at the edge of the reinforcement range, and then move these guys forward to reinforce the hero as well. But I should be able to clear this mana node next turn. I have so much mana, that's why I'm feeling very safe to cast a bunch of spells. There is a heated debate. This is a random check. I can do a 4-strength astral check, which could either have a positive or negative outcome. I can spend Imperium to increase their allegiance with me. I think I'm quite happy to spend Imperium here to increase the allegiance of these factions. 6 allegiance doesn't sound like much, but it is actually quite useful. It'll mean that I'll be able to get to a pact of loyalty with Astral Anchorage quite a bit quicker. And we are going to have to rely heavily on vassals because we're going to be focusing on building one main city. We will eventually settle 2 to 3 more cities, but that'll be in the very long course of the game. Let's clear this mana node. This should be an easy auto combat. That's a little bit more damage than I would like. Let's just fight this. This time I'm going to make sure my Spellbreaker is nice and forward so that they can get a really solid AoE with Star Purge. Let's heal up this guy to make sure that he's ready for the fight ahead. That's the real power of support units. It's not that they can heal your units in between battles or keep... It's if you have a damage unit coming into a battle, they can start the battle with more health. Okay, let's drop a fat Star Purge here. Boom. That's what we like to see. 25 damage all around the board. I'm going to drop a fat Fulminate on these guys as well, just to get them done. I'm going to go ahead and overchannel so that I can do another Fulminate. Ooh. Yeah, this will just about kill one of them. Now, these guys are going to do minimum damage, right? Basically no damage when they attack. So we can basically ignore these guys. We won't ignore them, but essentially we can. I'm going to position my Spearmen to threaten these guys. These guys will be pinned, thus forcing them. If I were to attack them, there would be a chance that I would get stunned. However, if I put my Spearmen into defense mode, like so, now you can see they have a red sword underneath their panel. That is their reaction/retaliation attacks. Normally, if a unit is standing still outside of a zone of control, they can do 3 attacks, which would allow these guys to do, right, 9, or what is it, 5, 3, 11 times 3, 33 damage, right? That's a lot of damage. 33 damage is an insane amount of damage. But because I'm standing in their zone of control, in order for them to actually attack, they have to step out of my zone of control, take an attack from my hero, thus lowering their number of models, and lose an action point because they were forced to move. So tackling enemy ranged units with melee is very, very powerful. This is actually partially why I took the elusive trait. It allows me to heavily rely on ranged units, and my units will take up to, like, they'll have 60% more health against retaliation attacks and opportunity attacks. So they'll be able to weave out of other people's zone of control without as many consequences. Anyway, I'm hoping that the logic of my build is starting to become apparent. Let's move up with the hero and blast this kid. And then the final thing that we'll do is try to finish these guys over here on the right off. And then we will let these guys, there we go, there's the retreat. I do get stunned, but that's not important. The important thing is that he took a retaliation attack and wasn't able to do his full attack. I'll finish him off, boom, boom. I will blast him once with my Soother, and then I will ideally run forward and try to get this kill. There's a chance we get Astro Membraned, but that's fine. And look at that, a very clean battle. Now, it doesn't look that much better, but it is better, I think. We need to pick a new direction to explore, and I think I will be exploring to the north. Thank goodness I have an astral projection that I could send this way, because we have run out of things to kill down here in the south. I can't clear this great bird nest until I have spell breakers, which will take me a little bit of time to get the Mage's Plaza built. I need these spell shields right here. These are shield units, which typically have really good defense, but they also have AoE stuns that make it a much easier to control a battle compared to a spearman. Spearmen are good, don't get me wrong, but these spell shields do, in my opinion, add a bit more work. Now, Starspire can annex another province. My goal this game is to rush for tier 3 production buildings, and so I'm going to build myself a third farm. Boom. Now, I built this farm on a node with a gold vein, which will also get me 10 gold per turn. That will get me to the Masonic Hall. I will require a quarry to finish that. However, I'm not in a rush to get there. I'm going to recruit one more Mystic Projection because I would like to scout a little bit more. Scouting as this faction is very valuable, so that's kind of where I'm coming from there. Now, unfortunately, because I'm focusing so much on production, my research, my mana, and my gold, they're all suffering. I'm not building shrines and stuff like that. I'm okay with that. I think the big thing for me would be to get to the Mage's Plaza so I can start recruiting those spell shields. And then the second that I finish the Mage's Plaza, I should get to work on the Masonic Hall. Now, a couple of the other players have declared a rivalry on me, which means they're likely to be looking for a war with me. That's something I'm going to have to be careful and mindful of. We just finished researching Lightning Torrent, which is going to make my army stack much more effective at combat because I'll be able to do damage before the battle actually begins and lower my enemy's lightning resistance. Let's pick our next research. I actually don't like any of these researchers. I mean, sure, Enchanted Crow Companion does give extra vision range to my scouts, which would allow me to reveal the map quite a bit, which could be a really important ability for me this game, actually. Or I could get Wayfinder ability, which will give my scouts extra movement. It really isn't that much more movement. I think Enchanted Crow Companion is fine here. Now, I could go for Magic Shield, which would allow me to buff my units with extra defense. This is okay, but I think I'm going to take Enchanted Crow Companion here. I could have shuffled these choices. I could click the shuffle button to get a new choice, but I think Enchanted Crow Companion is totally fine as the Mystic Culture. I'm going to go ahead and cast Mystic Torrent so that I have it pre-cast. It's ready to cast whenever I need it. It did cost me 60 mana and 60 casting points because you can only cast so many spells per turn. Up until now, that hasn't been a problem. But in the near future, we're going to be wanting to cast many spells, or really big spells that take multiple turns to cast. And you can only cast spells up to your world map casting points, and each spell has a different cost. The Lightning Torrent spell had a cost of 60. Just things that we're going to have to keep in mind as we continue to play. Now, this guy just built an outpost right on my border. That is a big problem for me. Their military ranking is 6 out of 7, mine is 3 out of 7. So I could take them in a war right now, and then potentially piece them out after I destroy that outpost. I could declare a justified war. I could also settle the grievances for 100 gold. I don't think 100 gold is enough for them to think that they're going to drop an outpost on my border. If they even they're founding a city here. That means immediate war declaration. I'm going to declare a justified war on these guys. They are theoretically stronger than me, but I feel like my army stack is scary enough and I'm strong enough to manage it. And we're going to immediately make our way towards this. I'm going to send my Mystic Projection to the east, and I'm going to start building reinforcements, in particular, Arcanists. I'm going to take Adaptive Research here. This will give me a 50% discount on researching and locking research, which will give me a lot more control over what I can research and how I can research things. My city research structures will be cheaper in production and gold, which will allow me to focus on them much more, which will help me develop my research economy in the wake of trying to develop my military economy. Now, I am technically evil here, which is unfortunate. I will have to recover my alignment if I so choose. However, I think this declaring of war was necessary. They did forward settle me, and I am in a position where I'm strong enough to fight them, because militarily, I am stronger than them right now. And magically, I believe. Yeah, magically and militarily, I'm a lot stronger than them. They're a lot stronger than me in terms of the fact that they're AI on brutal difficulty. But I think the perfect time for me to declare war and clear this outpost is now. Now, I could capture this outpost and own it, and it would give me more claims, better claim protection against their future endeavors. I'm going to go ahead and capture that outpost and use it. It will cost me 10 gold per turn, but it will prevent them from founding a city here, which is the main objective. Okay, so we found our very first Astral Echo. We pick this up, we get a very small boost to our research, and we now have an Astral Echo pickup in our reserve, which will eventually be used to scale up a particular building that we can build. Don't worry about it, but we want to find more of those if we can, which is why I'm building these astral projections. Now, the unfortunate thing about this war is that it's going to force me to fight this guy earlier than I would otherwise be ready to. Now, I got a quest to do a Pyroborn hunt. They want me to kill 4 or 5 Gortus piglets. I will say I'm honored to join you. That fight is all the way down here, which we could probably get done in the course of this war. I could engage this stack. I'm going to go ahead and cast Lightning Torrent on my enemy army, thus slightly reducing their health. They do have a couple of War Shamans, and they do have the Lightning Torrent debuff. These guys are quite tough. The Furies are scary, but aside from the Furies, I actually think I can take these guys. I'm going to go ahead and cast another Lightning Torrent because I want to bring the health of the main stack down as much as I can. I don't think they take a second copy of the debuff, but starting them with double health down will make this battle go much easier, especially if I can capture some of her equipment as a result of this battle. I'm a little bit scary that there might be another army and reinforcement here. Now, if I auto-resolve this, we're likely to lose a unit. I think I can win this battle without losing a unit, but we'll see. So you can see they used all of their spells to get their health back up, which is fantastic because that puts their Invigorate ability on cooldown rather than using it later in the battle when it might have been a bigger problem for me. I want to make use of these poison plants here. Units that step on these are distracted, meaning all attacks against them are flanking. So I want to try to make use of these. So I want to position my spearmen in a way that doesn't necessarily force my enemies to go through them, but increases the probability that they will have to go through them in order to reach me. All right, so here is the positioning that I like. You're going to step here. You will heal him. I'm going to get you to do an attuned cast here. No, I need you forward, like there. Yeah, so you can do your AoE ability. You'll step up to here. And you will do an AoE resistance buff in case they try to use magic on me. They might do that. All right, looks like they used a buff spell to strengthen their units, and they have come forward. Let's do the AoE Star Purge. This will remove their positive bonuses, making them a lot scarier, a lot less scary, right? We took away their Primal Strike, we took away their Strengthened, we took away a whole bunch of stuff that they were using. We're going to double fulminate this stack of units here as well to bring their health down. I'm going to double fulminate by overchanneling. And then I'm going to use this Spearman to protect my guy. If he wants to attack my Battle Mage, he has to step here and make himself vulnerable. That's how I want to fight this battle. I want my enemies to be forced into low quality decisions. I'll put my hero here because I'll be able to get 2 really powerful attacks. Blast, blast. That was great. And then we'll just play it by ear. We'll play it defensively. That's all we need to do. We used our spells. We've done a lot of really effective damage. Now let's see what they do. All right. He's using the Strengthened ability. He went in with an Ice Blast. Oh, he actually used the Cone of Cyclones to modify our positioning, which is a little bit scary. And then he managed to stun my Battle Mage. And he poisoned my Spearman. Damaged my hero, poisoned me. Did a little bit of damage with this. The Furies are really scary. We need to deal with the Furies. Okay. I'm going to drop a heal here to keep these guys healthy. You can kill these guys with 90% certainty. Let's make sure that that happens. You're my spell breakers. There we go. 90% certainty achieved. We could do a fulminate, AoE damage. You're going to retreat to this tile where you're nice and safe. And we're going to kill this Fury to take him off the battlefield. This Spearman, I'm going to make sure he's facing the enemy. You can change your unit facing with this rotate ability, and I'm going to put him into defense mode. I'm going to push this Spearman forward a tile, make sure he's facing the enemy, and put him into defense mode. Our main goal here is to just keep our ranged DPS alive. The Spearmen are the front line that does that. We take a little bit of poison damage, that's totally fine. They lose their strengthened debuffs, or their strengthened buffs rather. He gets a nice flank on me, which hurts. But mostly I think we're in a good spot here. Our ability... Like, remember, Elusive gives us a 30% extra chance to dodge enemy attacks. Okay, this is scary. That's a big hit. I wasn't expecting the crit from him. That's okay. To lose an Arcanist is fine. So my goal here is to tackle this Fury. Tackle the Fury. Boom. Fury dead. Let's hit this guy in the ass. We want to sunder his resistance. Perfect. By sundering his resistance, we make him much more vulnerable to damage. I'm going to cosmically ablate him. We've now killed the enemy hero, so most of the threats on the board are dealt with. Let's deal with the skirmishers. Now, one thing I'm a little bit worried about is these guys do have a heal in the tank, and it should be coming online now, so I want to finish any units that aren't finished. And now this army stack that they have left can do some damage, but they won't be able to kill me, I don't think. I don't know if losing an Arcanist is a worse outcome than I originally got with auto-resolve, but at the very least, it was my outcome. Let's go ahead and finish off this battle. Can you get a little bit more forward and blast him? You got a 50-50 chance. Okay, you missed. That's unfortunate. You get over here, stab him, sunder his resistance. 50-50 chance of killing. Right, I'm just going to go ahead and click the auto-resolve button to let this battle play out at maximum speed. They should retreat and or die. Boom. Right, easily done. Perfect. Enemies defeated. So we lost an Arcanist, which I think is an acceptable loss. It was an elite Arcanist, so it did have the damage medal, which gives it a 10% damage bonus. It's not the end of the world. Our hero leveled up. Like this as a trade for the enemy stack is a very sustainable trade for us. Now, I just sent her to the Astral Void. When a ruler gets sent to the Astral Void, they get minus 20 city stability in their city. They don't get their governor bonuses. They don't get their research. They can't cast spells, and their active magic victory is cancelled. So sending someone to the Void is actually a really big loss. Also, I killed a huge amount of her army. So that was a massive setback for her, which will make her feel really bad about this war. And so when she comes back from the Astral Void, I will probably start looking to negotiate peace. I've already achieved my main objective here of grabbing this outpost. The only other thing that I can probably think of doing is maybe pillaging for money, which will make me more evil. But that is just an unfortunate reality that I'll have to accept, is that in order to survive in this world, I have to do things that I'm not proud of. I'm going to begin casting Crow Companion so my scouts are more efficient. And we just finished the Mage's Spire. So I'm going to begin building the Blacksmith to get me that extra 20 draft income. This will be a 60% increase in the current draft income, which means I'll recruit units a lot faster. Current draft income is 30. I will need to build a second quarry to actually boost this. I'm building an Arcanist. Let's go ahead and begin building Spell Shields. These are my tier 2 melee units that will be replacing my Spearmen. I'm going to need 2 of these to replace that stack. They aren't that much stronger. Like if you really look at their stats, okay, they're not strong against large heavy cavalry units. They don't have first strike. Right? So they do come with downsides compared to the Spearmen. However, they come with a number of upsides. So if we take a look at the Arcane Guard, they have 65 health, 1 armor, and 2 resistance. So they're quite a bit less tanky. They do 12 damage per attack, and they have first strike and all these like really nice bonuses. Charge resistance in particular is a very nice one. Whereas if you compare that to the Spell Shield, these guys have 80 health, 5 armor, and 2 resistance. So they're a lot more resistant to physical damage, but they don't have resistance to charge. They do come with Stunning Flash, which is a really good AoE control ability. So while there are downsides to switching to the Spell Shield, I think overall it increases the quality of my army, so that's why I'm making that decision. My hero has leveled up, and in fact they've actually reached level 5, which is a pretty significant moment. We're going to take Magecraft 2 as our basic spell. This will give us another 10% accuracy and the ability to ignore status resistance when we inflict status effects, and we can now pick our signature skill. You can pick any signature skill that you randomly roll, so I could take Blink here. This will give 40% evasion, allow me to teleport. I can take Assassinate, which will give me a chance to instantly kill a target. I can take Warding Bond, which allows me to take some damage that a friendly unit takes at a reduction. I could summon an animal. It'd be a random tier 3 animal. This is actually really damn good. I could take Holy Retribution, which would deal damage back to anyone who hits me within a range of 3 hexes. Or I can take Dark Ritual. That would allow me to raise corpses as zombies. Dark Ritual is really good turn the tide in close battles. I think the best ability here, believe it or not, is Summon Animal. Summoning a free unit in a battle, this allows me to take what is a 6-unit stack and turn it into a 7-unit stack. Yes, the Summon Animal, it won't have most of my bonuses, but it will tank for me and potentially do some damage or inflict some status effects. So summoning animals is really, really good. Summons in general, I feel, are very powerful. I'm going to go ahead and take the Astral Inspiration ability, which will, whenever I research a new skill, will reduce the knowledge cost of another random skill by 25%. Imagine if in Civilization 6, whenever you researched a technology, another technology would randomly get a 25% discount. You would take that ability in every single game. It's a really, really powerful ability, and that's why we'll take it. Right, let's get our second quarry. This will boost to the blacksmith and also give us extra production, so we'll get the blacksmith quite a bit quicker. We now have 3 farms and 2 quarries in here, which is close to the ideal ratio. This will also allow us to build a Masonic Hall after the blacksmith, which is exactly what we're going to do, because we want that plus 20 production income, because building up our city is really important. I wonder if I can auto-combat this and take very little losses. I should be able to. So now that I've shown a lot of the early game battles, I'm probably not going to be narrating every single fight that I do. A very easy battle where we took no damage. It would be really nice if instead of just showing the final health of units, it would be really good if they showed like, oh, your unit started on this much health and they fell down to this much. That would be like a really good way for me to actually judge the performance of a battle, because sometimes I don't remember how much health my unit had going into a fight. Let's go ahead and cast Enchanted Crow Companion. This will give +2 vision range to my scout units, allowing me to find more resources on the map. It will cost me 6 mana per turn, but you can see, now I can see so much further with these scouts. 2 extra tiles might not seem like much, but it's the difference between seeing this tile and like this tile. It's a really big vision increase. We got a Pact of Loyalty with the Astral Anchorage Free City, which now it shares its vision. We can now build on its claimed provinces. It will contribute to the Rally of Lieges, and it will reinforce in combat against rulers that it's at war with. In 9 turns, it will become our vassal. I can speed it up by spending allegiance. I don't know if I want to. Do I have anything else I want to spend my allegiance on? In theory, if I boost this allegiance, I would gain 8 allegiance, which would have the time to get the Pact of Vassalage. And once it's my vassal, I could take the Whispering Stone and give it to Obscurum, which I think I would like to do. So I'm going to go ahead and boost the allegiance in here, get the Pact of Vassalage in 5 turns, and then I can switch over to make another city my vassal. I've taken control of this outpost, and I will be building palisade walls here to make it harder to kill it. By building palisade walls on this outpost, I'll give it fortification points. Fortification points have to be sieged down over a number of turns, and that will give me the ability to reinforce this. This will cost me some money over time, holding this outpost, but I think in order to project extra claims onto this territory, you can see here, I have claims on this province, which means I have an intent to control it. I have close claims on these provinces, so she won't be able to expand, place outposts, or just generally encroach on my land without giving me cause for war. And an important part of defending your borders is to project that power outwards. Now we have found a insolent city-state. This is a city-state that you start at war with. You can go to peace either by conquering them, paying them, or through a natural event. Now, we do have to wait 5 turns before we can negotiate peace, but it can be done. So we have to make some decisions about what we would like to research next. We have the option to go for the Scroll of Attunement. This would allow me to attune for Starblades, which increases the damage dealt when spells are cast. I could go for Lightning Focused. Basically what this does is it allows any of my units in my empire that are not actually Mystic race, that don't have the Starblades ability that the Mystics get, this will give them that ability. So essentially this is like a cultural integration spell. It allows you to integrate other cultures into your culture. I could go for Lightning Focus, which will give all of my battle mages and all of my support units +2 lightning damage, as well as a 30% chance to inflict Electrified, which allows my enemies to suffer 8 lightning damage. Or I could research the Evoker, who is a tier 2 battle mage that has the Lightning Bolts ability. Quite good against astral enemies. It also has the Electrifying Arc, which is an AoE damage ability. I think I'm going to go for Lightning Focus here. I like the idea of just straight up upgrading my battle mages, so I'm going to take that. It looks like Asgara Spinesplitter is willing to take my peace deal because I obliterated her army. We will have a truce for 10 turns, so I'm going to go ahead and sign that deal. And now we are at peace. That has fixed my alignment. I declared war with a minor justification, and I made a truce, which basically cancels that out. So I was able to prevent her from forward settling me. Now there is a 10-turn window where she could probably try it again, but that would just give me even more claims to go to war. She has declared me her rival, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. This will give me more grievances when she does things that hurt me. And I think she's going to be public enemy number 1 this game, and my goal is to conquer her and vassalize her cities when she does things to piss me off. Now, we have a couple of rogue marauders here. I wonder if I can clear them. This is a quest battle for someone else. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that and yoink it so that they fail their quest, which is kind of a huge dick move, but never accuse me of not being petty. We did find Gloom Hooknail, who is a necromancer. I will send him a gift to try and keep him happy. I have found a lot of people that really hate my guts this game. But I think on the conclusion of that war, and on this very first episode, I'm going to call that the end of this episode. I think this is a really good introduction to the game. Probably see why I'm super addicted to it. And I promise you, after I finish this game, I will do more Civ 6 content. But good God, I need to get this game out of my system. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!